Imagine you're sailing on a ship across the vast ocean. You spot a beautiful island in the distance, with green trees, sandy beaches, and rocky cliffs. You decide to anchor your ship on the shore and explore the island. You light a fire on the sand to cook some food and relax. But then, something terrible happens. The island starts to move. It's not an island at all. It's a monster. A monster that can sink your ship and drown you in an instant. A monster that is a symbol of Satan himself. This is the horrifying story of the Aspidochelone, the giant sea monster that destroys ships in the ocean. Welcome to Sky Sea Channel, the channel that always discusses anything about the sea. Today we're going to talk about one of the most terrifying sea monsters in mythology, the Aspidochelone. What is the Aspidochelone, you may ask? Well, it's a gigantic creature that looks like a whale or a turtle, but with a twist. It has a shell that resembles an island, complete with rocks, trees, and sand. It uses this disguise to lure unsuspecting sailors to land on its back, and then it dives into the water, dragging them to their doom. It also has a sweet smell that attracts fish, which it devours with its huge mouth. Sounds scary, right? Well, it gets even scarier when you learn that the Aspidochelone is not just a random beast, but a symbol of Satan himself. According to some medieval allegories, the Aspidochelone represents the devil's deception and temptation, which can lead people astray from their faith and salvation. But where did this legend come from? And is there any truth behind it? Let's find out in this episode of Sky Sea Channel. The oldest version of the Aspidochelone legend is found in the Physiologus, a 2nd century AD text that describes various animals and their moral meanings. The Physiologus says that there is a monster in the sea called Aspidochelone, which means asp turtle in Greek. It says that this monster is so big that sailors think it's an island, and they anchor their ships on its back. They then light fires on the sand to cook their food, but when the monster feels the heat, it sinks into the water and drowns them. The Physiologus also compares the Aspidochelone to Satan, who deceives those whom he seeks to devour. It says that just as the Aspidochelone pretends to be an island, Satan pretends to be an angel of light. And just as the Aspidochelone lures sailors with its sweet smell, Satan lures people with worldly pleasures and false promises. The legend of the Aspidochelone was later adopted by medieval bestiaries, which were books that collected stories and illustrations of various animals and their symbolic meanings. The bestiaries added more details to the Aspidochelone appearance and behavior, such as its huge spines on its back, its ability to spit water at its enemies, and its habit of sleeping for long periods of time. The Aspidochelone also appears in some other literary works, such as the Alexander Romance and the Babylonian Talmud. The Alexander Romance is a legendary account of Alexander the Great's adventures, where he encounters a monster that turns out to be an Aspidochelone. The Babylonian Talmud is a collection of Jewish teachings and stories, where Rabbi Bar Hannah tells of his experience of cooking on the back of a fish that he thought was an island. But could there be any real animals that inspired the legend of the Aspidochelone? Some scholars have suggested that sightings of large marine creatures such as whales, turtles, or manta rays could have given rise to the myth. For example, some whales have barnacles on their skin that look like rocks or shells. Some turtles have vegetation growing on their shells that look like plants or grass. And some manta rays have patterns on their backs that look like sand or dirt. Of course, these animals are not nearly as big or dangerous as the Aspidochelone, but they could have been exaggerated by imagination or folklore over time. And they certainly don't have anything to do with Satan or evil. So what do you think of the Aspidochelone? Do you find it fascinating or frightening? Have you ever seen or heard of any other sea monsters that look like islands? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get other interesting video updates. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.